Good morning, Alex. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, thank you. Good morning to everybody listening. Welcome to another great episode of the Survive and Thrive Research Hub. Today will be a nice express session, just to cover some key topics for the week. And this session obviously will start off by me asking Alex a question. And the question I want to ask you, Alex, is around a very interesting topic I've been discussing with my colleagues this week. And the topic is called magical foresight.
Okay.
How does one develop the capacity to have magical foresight? And maybe I should define magical foresight. Magical foresight is the ability to see into the future so accurately that it could be viewed as magic, as
Mm,
performing magic.
mm,
A lot of people do that. I mean, I think that the most simple word for that is becoming a visionary.
yeah,
So my question to you is, how do you develop the capacity to have magical foresight?
that is an awesome question. That's a great question. I think you can phrase it as like anticipation, right? Um, One of my favorite quotes from Tony Robbins is leaders anticipate, losers react. And
Mm-hmm.
having a vision for what might happen is just rooted in proactivity. So,
Mm-hmm.
my opinion is that most people are not really looking ahead in terms of their
Mm-hmm.
lives. They
Mm-hmm.
are very rooted in the now, or
Mm-hmm.
they're rooted in yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a very special person who actually takes the time to imagine what the future might look like.
Mm-hmm.
So my my opinion on cultivating this magical foresight that you talk about is
Mm-hmm.
one, actually having a practice of regularly sitting down and thinking ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is studying history
Mm-hmm.
because so Ray Dalio, he's approached Ray Dalio. If you don't know who Ray Dalio is, he's the founder of Bridgewater Associates, which was the largest private equity firm in America at some point. I don't know if it still is, but
Mm-hmm.
he predicted Mexico defaulting on its national debt. He predicted a housing crisis, which a lot of the 2007 housing crisis in America,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of, not a lot, but like a few very well-renowned investors did. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
how he predicted these massive events that he was able to capitalize on was by studying history. So he has this belief that everything is cyclical in nature.
Yeah.
And most people don't even look backwards, but when they do look backwards, they look back at 100 years and then that's their cutoff date.
Mm-hmm.
He went and he looked back 400 years, 500 years, 600 years at history and
Mm-hmm.
he studied these cycles and he identified recurring trends and patterns, which allowed him to predict with what might on the outside look like a magical foresight, but actually
Mm-hmm.
it was just him reading the room,
Mm-hmm.
understanding what has happened before will happen again. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. If you think about it from an economic perspective, every like 6, 7 years, there's always a recession or there's always a market.
Yeah. 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 Of
And
course.
whenever you
Of
go
course.
through this market crash, you think
Yeah.
this is a once in a lifetime event.
Yeah.
Not really. Not
Yeah.
really. In
Of
our
course.
lifetime, we saw 2020 was with COVID. You
Yeah.
saw 2007. You
Yeah.
saw 9/11,
Mm-hmm.
massive global market
Yeah.
crash.
Of course.
The dot-com bubble burst. And that's
Yeah.
just in you and I's like short
Lifetime.
time,
Yeah. Of
you know?
course.
So yeah, let me like conclude on that in summary. One, to develop magical foresight, you actually have to try first, which means
Mm-hmm.
sitting down and trying to anticipate what the future is going to look like. And
Mm-hmm.
two, you need to try and learn from the past to see what cycles are going to be returning or recurring, whether it's a war, whether it's an economic crash, whether whatever. Yeah. What would you say? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Like, how would
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I think, what I'm getting from you is that you basically need to be able to tell the weather.
Yes.
You need to be able to tell, is it a sunny day? Is it a rainy day? Am I equipped for the day? And that only can really happen is if you've experienced it before. So like if you have never experienced a gray sky, you're gonna go out without an umbrella because you don't know that, rain's about to come. If you
Yeah.
have, that might get cold a bit later. It's like going to Cape Town, right? For most people who haven't lived in Cape Town, remember myself moving to Cape Town, looking out the window and then deciding, okay, cool, I'm gonna wear shorts and a t-shirt. And then you go out and then it starts raining, bro. After 2 hours of the day, like what the hell? And then the sun comes back again. So many seasons in a day, but I had to experience it first in order to tell or make judgment of what I'm gonna expect in the future.
Yes.
So yeah, dude, I think looking back is definitely very important when it comes to looking forward. And the reality is that it just conditions you and allows you to develop a better sense of intuition. So, for example, people think intuition is a gut feel, but it comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
The intuition is better when you have more experience.
It's judgment.
Yes, because you're able to be like,
Yeah.
kind of, I kind of know what's gonna happen here.
Yeah.
All right. That
100%.
comes from experience. And I think it's extremely imperative to look back because that's the best way to develop a strong sense of intuition. And intuition can be broken down into many things:
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
intuition, relationship intuition. There's different types of intuition, and you can develop each faculty accordingly, right? Based on the topic that you are or the subject that you are looking to develop. But intuition definitely is correlated to how much you know about the past.
Yeah. And you know what? I would say one of the things that as a species makes us the apex predator on this planet is our ability to navigate complex ideas like predicting the future
Yeah.
and anticipating what might happen. Think about, we go back to like biblical times, in that period of history. The act of storing grain for the winter is anticipation
Of course.
through experience of learning the winter is coming. We will go through a period of time where we will not have grain that we can harvest. We need to find a way to preserve this and store this for the hard time so that we can navigate that future challenge more elegantly, more intelligently. And that is a principle which is still applying to today. It's still applying to today. Or where you think about being opportunistic, where a chance is going to come that is going to allow you to get a higher return on something. So, for example, I think it was Sir John Templeton, also a very famous investor, who said, I like to buy when the streets are bleeding. And what that means was he buys after a crash when everybody is in chaos, in panic mode. Most people sell when shares prices are dropping dramatically because it's a panic reactionary response.
Yeah.
Whereas the top guys know when it's crashing, it's not the time to sell. You must sell when everybody is coming into the game late and they're optimistic and they're overvaluing the share. So like the thing that makes them unique is that they don't allow external noise to dictate their choices, or if they are taking it into account, they are doing the opposite of what the external noise is presenting to them. So, to bring that back to your magical foresight, it's like, it's counterintuitive to a lot of people to sit on cash and buy when there's a crash. But that is the opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a principle that can apply with everything,
Yeah. And I mean, it's very interesting you say that, right? Looking at when the opportunity is. And I think I'll use a practical example. This is my personal opinion, and it's not of any credible advice. I wouldn't advise taking it just because I'm saying it, right? But for me, based on my intuition and my prediction of the future, if you own property now, the best thing you can do for yourself is just hold it. Because the way things have changed from an interest rate perspective and even currency devaluation perspective, it's becoming harder and harder to own a home.
Yes.
Especially in South Africa. But in other parts of the world, it's normal to never own property, my G. Can you believe that?
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, so if you find that we are now entering in that stage. So when you see something becoming harder to attain over time, if you're in that space, or if you want to play in something safe, put as much effort as you can to get into it, even if it's going up, because that trajectory is not going to slow down. If you just look around you, bro, accommodation crisis, is not enough homes.
Yeah.
Population growing. It only makes sense that, investing in property is quite a safe bet. So yeah,
Yeah.
but like I said, that's my intuition, and that just speaks to obviously making decisions in difficult times.
Yeah. And I would add to that, like, looking at a broader scale investment in the country that you choose to live in, which is an investment. It's an investment decision, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Going from a country like South Africa that has a lot of problems to a country like Australia or the UK or America or something like that, you think, oh, I'm making a better investment because I'm going to these so-called more developed countries, and they are more developed. Until you go there and then you realize, the skill that I had in South Africa, which was rare, is common here because everyone has studied the same thing. The money that I had in South Africa, which was getting me X, is now getting me something far less than that in another country. The opportunities which seemed so clear in South Africa for business entrepreneurial things, the solution that I could sell, I can no longer sell in these other countries because they don't have those problems. And also, when you look at South Africa as a country, I would argue that the tide is turning politically towards a brighter future. Can you say the same in those other places? Maybe not. So the reason why I bring this up is because, most people are, I think you've said this before, but most people are like sheep. They go with the current. They're like school of fish. They go with the current. So they see that other people are going to certain places and they assume that that person knows better than them, and so they just follow that approach. Instead of asking themselves, what do I think, and what do I see, and what do I actually know? And you shared that article with me about the trend of millionaire immigration now being more millionaires coming back than leaving.
Which is crazy.
So that is a very, very big deal. Very big. Which a lot of people don't take seriously.
And remember the last time we spoke about it, you said there's going to be a switch. There's going to be a turning point.
Yes,
And
because no one leaves in Africa because they don't love it. They leave it because they think they have no other choice. And when they do leave, they always look back over their shoulder just to see, is there a sign? Is there a sign that I can still have a life here? But I think this is a great topic to talk about in terms of cultivating foresight, because most people, in my opinion, live month to month. They have, and I don't blame them for it. I understand it's natural. You're living in response to external challenges. 100%. I understand. But, talking about thriving and surviving, the difference between thriving and surviving is I respond to the external challenge until it goes away. Thriving is saying, I will rise above the challenge to create abundance, so that I'm not just living month to month. I'm not just responding to the external challenge. I am dictating to the world what I want. I'm creating a life that I want. That is what thriving is about. So cultivating this magical foresight that you speak of is a big part of that, because foresight is also, you said, vision. To design the life that you want, you first have to start with a vision. Otherwise, you've got no chance, because then you're a boat in the ocean that's being blown by the winds and the currents. You've got no direction. So defining that vision for yourself is key.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Golden nuggets there, bro.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
Cool. So you want to lead us on to the next one?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm going to talk about something that I have spoken about briefly before, but I want to flesh it out a bit more. And that is this principle of seek first to understand, then to be understood, from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the reason why I speak about it so much is because I think it is one of the most powerful tools to have in your life from a personal and professional perspective. And one thing I want to do, I want to compliment you, because in my experience with conversations with you, I have found you to be a very sophisticated listener, in the sense that, so in the book, they talk about the different levels of listening. So you've got surface, you've got what most people do, which is not hearing, but not listening. So audio is going in, but it's not resonating with them.
I get you.
Then you have listening with the intent to respond, which is to say, I'm just waiting for you to finish saying your point so I can say what I want to say. Which is a little bit better, but not great. Then there is the next level of listening, which is where you listen and then you repeat what the person has said to you to show that you were listening, which is pretty good, but not great. And then the last level of listening is called empathetic listening, where I listen to what you say, I think about it, and then I understand and I say what you really mean. So the example that they use in the book is about a child with his father, and the child is saying to the dad, I just don't like school. It sucks. And what most parents do is they say to the child, man, you're so ungrateful. I pay so much for your education. When I was your age, I went to school. I know what it feels like, but you got to do better. Okay, that's the immediate thing. And the paradigm is, I am judging you before I have even truly listened to you. Empathetic listening is where the father hears the child say, Dad, school sucks, I don't like it. And the father listens and he thinks, why would my kid say that? Why would my kid say that school sucks? And not just the surface level of, oh, he has to go to school, he has to work. No. I'm not going to judge my kid and just say that he's lazy. Let me try and understand. So what the empathetic listener does and says, you sound frustrated. I'm sure you've got a good reason for your frustration. You want to share with me? Is this a time that you want to open up, or do you just want me to sympathize? And the way the example plays out in the book is the kid says, well, I was in math class this week and somebody made fun of me for getting the answer wrong. Felt stupid. And you see this back and forth where if the father is being surface level, judgmental, he would say, "Oh, why did you get the question wrong? Why didn't you study? Why didn't you do your homework?" Immediately, judges. Whereas with the empathy, he says, "Okay, is this a recurring theme? Like, let's talk about, was the teacher being rude with you, or you make a mistake and you felt self-conscious, and what's the story that you wrote about this?" And through this back and forth of empathetic listening, again, seeking first to understand, then to be saying, I reserve my judgment. First, I want to understand. You get to a place with the person that you're interacting with where they feel deeply understood, deeply. And he uses this term psychological air, where most people in their day-to-day life never truly get heard. Because it's a rare thing to be able to deeply open up and connect and share your soul, your inner challenges and thoughts with somebody, because there's a level of trust that's required. But people need to do it. That's why we call it psychological air, because it's like breathing. You need to have this deep connection with people that you love. Where you trust them so much that you can just say, like, there's this feeling of inadequacy about myself because I answered this question wrong in class and everybody laughed at me, and it spoke to my fear that I am not smart enough, And once you've acknowledged that, you can then get to the solution of saying, okay, well, we've established how you feel. We've established that the issue is not that the class is, violent, or the teacher is a maniacal tyrant, but you feel insecure about your level of proficiency with this thing. Now that we've established that, what are we going to do? So most people start with the action where they say, oh, you got the question wrong, extra math class, you suck. You got to go. And then the kid says, you know what? That's bullshit. I don't want to go to class. It's not my fault. It's the teacher's fault. They should have taught me better. Or I'm just not good at maths. And so this is a principle, like I'm using parenting, but I think it applies professionally. It applies with friendships. It applies with your day-to-day life. This principle of seek first to understand, then to be understood, because the level of self-control and patience that you need to implement it is high. It's a very 100%. Higher level frame of reference to operate from. But the impact of this approach is exponential. And I'm just going to add one thing, and then I really want to bring you into this so that you can add your bit. But I learned this week, where there is a time to help and there is a time to teach. And the most people, when somebody, especially guys, I find oaks do this a lot, and maybe this will help the gentlemen who are listening with their ladies. When your lady is upset, she doesn't want you to tell her what to do, because it's not the time to teach. It's the time to help, in the sense of giving her that emotional connection, emotional support, the stability, acknowledging the feeling of saying, yes, I understand. This is frustrating. Because when you tell her, okay, you're frustrated because your coworker said this, why didn't you just tell her to fuck off? Or why did you just walk away? Like, you go straight to the conclusion, and she says, you don't care what I think. You think I'm wrong. You this, you that. You're making me wrong. There's a time to teach. There's a time to help. And the thing that separates those two times is the state of the person. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear what your perspective on that long speeches that I gave now. But
No, I think I mean, I'll start off by speaking on the first thing there is being able to identify a person's state, right? I think everyone is responsible for managing how you interact with other people.
Yeah.
You're almost, that's the called being interconnected. So you find that people don't realize that the word connection means you're connected, interconnected, networking. So when you network, when you become interconnected with someone, it means that in your form of communication, you guys are maximizing it.
Yes.
There's minimal friction, there's great understanding, there's great community, there's harmony. But that happens when one person or the other or both, but one person in the equation has to have the maturity to control that.
It's leadership.
Yes.
Yeah.
One person is enough to create that. However, in the circumstance where both parties are not at that, maturity from a mindset perspective, then it's like we're running backwards.
Very challenging.
Yeah. So I think it's very important to learn how to observe environment and study people's state and respond to that accordingly, because it just helps you have better relationships with people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, it just helps you navigate life challenges. It helps you navigate, like, I can speak for my role. When I started med, I had to have a lot of tough conversations with some of my colleagues.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of change. When I speak to my personal relationship with my wife, with my parents, there's a lot of tough conversations that I have generally. That's life. That's part of growing relationships. Uh, and it's easy to do that. It's easier to grow when you can navigate it and just be able to identify people's state. If you're not able to do that, bro, then uh, you go against the laws of timing. Something called timing.
Yes. Great point.
Yes, it's called timing. So you got to know when to do certain stuff and when to say what.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from the ability to scan the person and environment and then make judgment accordingly.
That speaks to your anticipation, right? Your magical
Yes,
foresight. Timing.
yes, 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 yes.
Foresight.
And like they say, like for example, I'm good at what they call managing conflict or managing change positively.
Mm.
Because I don't do it based on myself. I make myself the master reader of the room. And I allow the situation to play out at the comfort of the recipient, of my recipient,
100%.
for the benefit of all. So yeah, bro, it's like psychology. It's almost like being the god in the two of you and creating a high standard of how
Yeah.
you want things to be. So yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
I think leadership is a big part of it as well, because
Yeah.
I think it's like in that moment, which can be a very heated moment, right? Like you say, with challenging conversations, things can get very emotional, and
Yeah.
it can turn from we're on the same side talking about something
Mm.
that we're moving towards to a very
Mhm.
us, me versus you scenario, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think in that moment, leadership is saying, well, I am using my foresight to think about what a desirable outcome is here.
Yeah.
My desirable outcome is for this person to feel understood and for them to understand where I'm coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
So, first, I need to make them feel understood, seek first to
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Then, once I've made them feel understood and we have this foundation where their state is now positive, they feel understood,
Mhm.
they feel calm, they
Mhm.
feel they're not under attack, then
Mhm.
I can build on this foundation by explaining to them my point,
Yeah.
trying to communicate in a way that
Yeah.
that helps them to understand. And so,
100%.
you know what it is? It's almost a bit of like a dance, because you're
Mm.
always feeling the state of the person. You're kind of paying attention and you're saying,
Mm.
okay, are they ready to receive my message?
Mm.
Once I present my message, how are they responding? Are
Mm.
they still receptive, or have they lost it? And if they've
Yeah.
lost it, you go back to seek first to understand. And you say, okay.
100%.
And it's a
100%.
constant like back and
Communication, interconnectedness, right?
100%. Yeah.
Being the god in the situation.
It's very cool if you think about it. It's
Yeah.
actually like,
Yeah.
I had a coach who used to be a hostage negotiator for Scotland Yard. 15
Okay.
years he worked as a hostage negotiator for Scotland Yard. Now,
Jeez.
you cannot get a more higher stake communication
Yeah.
conversation than that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
asked him the one day, I said to him, like, how do you deal with these conversations? And what he said was trust. You have to establish trust in this
Mm.
conversation. You have to understand where this guy is coming from. So this principle that I'm speaking about now, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Listen, if it works with a bloody hostage situation, it's going to work with your mother-in-law, dude. Like,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
it's
Yeah.
going to work with your colleague. Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, it takes time, obviously. You know, it's a growth.
Yeah.
It's like a journey of evolution for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to just get into it right away. But
Yeah.
the coolest thing is where you have a conversation with somebody and you give them that psychological air that they so desperately need. And you see
Yeah.
how it influences their state afterwards. And it's why I want to bring it back to you, where I say, you are, in my opinion, a fantastic listener. You are very good because you're patient. You see through the words to the underlying truth of what a person is trying to say.
Yeah.
And you're very good at reframing it from your own perspective that still
Yeah.
matches what the person is trying to say initially.
Yeah. 100%.
So
100%.
kudos to you because it's
No,
tough.
thank you. I tried, bro. And I mean, like I said, it just goes back to reading your environment and reading states, right? Because sometimes someone just wants to be heard, right? You don't have to have an opinion on everything.
Yeah,
And a lot of the time, like I said, I think you develop your relationships more when you also make time to listen. That's what I believe, bro.
100%.
So I think listening is a very important part of developing any sort of relationship with your kid, with your parents, with anyone.
Yeah.
Just make time to listen. Sometimes whether you agree or not, just listen. So yeah, but very good topic there, dude.
Thanks, bro. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure our listeners know what I'm talking about when I say T is a very good listener because
I try.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like my brain, I noticed it with my friend yesterday. When I get on a topic, it's like a pinball machine. Like
Yeah,
I'm on something and then it's just bah, 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 bah.
yeah. Doesn't stop.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So having a co-host who's a fantastic listener, shoo, God
But it
sent.
goes both ways. It goes
Yeah,
both ways, eh? It goes
thank you.
both ways.
I try. I'm learning from the
Yeah.
best. Literally, I'm like, after I finished speaking and I heard you listen, I'm like, okay, now I got to do that. Let me try and do what T did because he did it really well.
I try. Humbling. But yeah, bro. No, very good. Some more golden nuggets there.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add, maybe before I think we can also wrap it up because we are going on 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I just want to say to everybody, I say it to you, I say it to myself, never ever put a ceiling on what you can become in life. Never put a ceiling. Don't say to yourself, oh, I could never be the best this or the best that, because
Mm.
you never know where you're going to go on the journey. And you underestimate how growth actually works. Because when you think about a growth cycle, in the beginning,
Mm.
you're going on the chart and you're growing on a linear level, at a linear rate. So it's I do this and then I get that. And the growth is very slow because you're starting from scratch.
Mm.
Then you hit a certain level where you have a breakthrough moment. And this is when we talk about the 80-20 rule, where 20% of your inputs dictate 80% of the outputs. It's when you hit that 20%, that those 20% of inputs that gives you 80% of the outputs, that your
Mm-hmm.
growth shifts from linear to exponential.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, you might find yourself giving up before you hit that 20%.
100%.
So don't put a ceiling on where you can go with what you want to do,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
once you hit that 20% and you get the 80% of the return, you're going to be saying to yourself, holy shit, I didn't see myself getting it. This is actually me outperforming my initial vision. And
exactly.
I think in life, the overwhelming majority of people give up before they hit that 20% threshold where they get 80% of the rewards.
Yeah. And you know what that speaks to, bro? I must share this with you. So
Yes.
research done at the Stanford University about 10 years ago looked at humans' ability to delay gratification.
Mm-hmm.
And what the study found was that people who figured out how to postpone the fulfillment of their desires instead of giving in immediately experienced greater success than those who hadn't.
Yep. Yep.
And that just speaks to the journey that you spoke, right? So there's a time to ramp things up, there's a time to store, and then there's a season for everything. You can't have it all at once.
We'll see.
That doesn't go with the laws of the universe.
We'll see.
So yeah, bro. Very interesting and very interesting topics we spoke about today. Thanks for the knowledge.
Always a pleasure, brother. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom and for your listening, as I've highlighted. And
No,
yeah,
lovely. Thank you.
to everybody else who's listening, thank you for your time. I hope that you guys had some interesting points that you could take with you, and lots of fun, interesting topics up ahead, and maybe some interesting guests as well.
Julio, thank you guys. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.